Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Jennifer Campos, and I'm the Associate Scientific Director of AgeWell, and I am absolutely thrilled to see so many of you joining us here today to learn more about how AgeTech promotes healthy lifestyles and wellness. At last count, I heard that we have over 70 people registered, which is really phenomenal. So we're really excited to spend the next little while with you this afternoon. So this is obviously a really extremely important topic to us here at AgeWell. In fact, it is one of our 8 challenge areas. Challenge areas are areas that we've identified where there are critically important but complex problems that are facing older adults and their caregivers. And that's where we're driving research and innovation to find solutions. So I'm absolutely thrilled to say that we're seeing some very exciting innovations emerging from the AgeWell supported research in this area. I'm going to talk more about that in a minute. But first, I'd like to acknowledge that although we are meeting virtually, we operate on the traditional territories of many Indigenous nations, which have cared for the land for thousands of years, including the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and the current treaty holders, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. This land remains home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people, and is subject to the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Treaty, which is an agreement to peaceably share and care for the Great Lakes region. I'm grateful for the opportunity to work on this land today. You may live and work in different territories, so we encourage you to reflect on the land on which you are located and to consider your relationship to that land and to the people who are the traditional keepers of that land. Thank you. Okay, I'd also like to take a minute to share with you a bit of information about AgeWell. AgeWell is Canada's technology and aging network. Our vision is that Canada's leadership in technology and aging, sometimes referred to as AgeTech, benefits the world. AgeWell's mission is to develop a community of researchers, older adults, caregivers, partners, and future leaders that accelerates the development of technology-based solutions that make meaningful differences in the lives of Canadians. So that translates into support for 250 researchers at 49 universities and research centers in Canada, 1,200 plus trainees, always growing, 60 plus Canadian age tech startups, over 170 technologies, services, policies, and practices that are in development or are currently on the market, 4 national innovation hubs, and the crucial involvement of 5,000 plus older adults and caregivers, many of whom are joining us today. So thank you so much to everybody for being a part of the network and for being engaged with the network in so many different capacities. Okay, so I know that you are very excited and hungry to hear more about healthy lifestyles and wellness. But before I turn things over to our panelists, here's a quick peek at some AgeWell supported technologies that we think will make a difference in the lives of older adults and their caregivers. So the first one we'll describe is Virtual Gym. So Virtual Gym is a serious game platform that's designed for older adults, and this system can be personalized to individual needs. It guides people through customized fitness and rehabilitation moves, and it allows healthcare professionals to monitor their activity and progress. Virtual Gym is being commercialized now. Next is the heel to toe sensor. This attaches to the outside of a walking shoe, and it gives positive auditory feedback every time the person makes a so-called good step. So this was developed by Physio Biometrics, and the idea is that if people walk better, then they'll walk more. And I think we'll hear more about why it is also very important to walk and to move. You could be an early adopter by joining the Walk Best beta tester community. So we'll be putting a URL in the chat, as has already happened. Okay, for the next technology that we'll describe, we know that older adults with back and neck problems can often benefit from posture braces, but these may be large and hinder people's ability to do activities that they love. So a special apparel that was developed by a startup called Adrenalise helps people maintain their posture and a comfortable and active lifestyle. And Adrenalise posture apparel is actually now available on the market. Okay, next we have To Race With Me. And To Race With Me is an exergaming product. Just waiting for the next slide to advance so we can see. Thank you. To Race With Me. It promotes physical and cognitive health using interactive and rewarding technology-based activities. To Race With Me is currently being used in long-term care homes in 5 provinces. Players can use hand pedals, foot pedals, or both. When they start pedaling, they press a button to choose a video that could, for example, have you traveling a mountain road or visiting a favorite city. To watch the video, you have to exercise. That's the catch. So To Race With Me was created by Centivisor, and it will be available for private use by the end of this year. Okay, next, we'll describe another fascinating app that is focused on depression. So depression can affect people at any age, but it often goes under-recognized or unrecognized in older adults, according to the Center for Addiction and Mental Health. At the University of Alberta, Mashrua Tasneem and Elena Strolia are working on a machine learning model that can monitor a person's emotional state based on the sound of their voice. The goal is to produce an app that could be used to track indicators of mood like depression. Okay, now the time that I think we've all been waiting for. We are going to turn to our very esteemed, knowledgeable expert panel. A quick note here is that if you have any questions or comments while you're listening at any point in time, please go ahead and type those comments or questions into the chat box. You can find the chat box by clicking on the icon that's shaped like a little speech bubble. And so please feel free to liberally post questions and comments at any point in time. And we are going to be recording today's session, so it will be available to watch again later on YouTube. I'm sure there'll be all kinds of really exciting tidbits that are coming out, and it may be hard to keep track of, but no fear, you'll be able to review it and also share with others for whom you think this topic may be interesting. Okay, so with all the housekeeping out of the way, I'd like to introduce Dr. Andrew Sixsmith, who leads AgeWell's Healthy Lifestyles and Wellness Challenge area. So Andrew, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how your research fits into today's topic of healthy wellness?
Okay, thanks, Jenny. As Jenny mentioned, healthy lifestyles and wellness is one of AgeWell's 8 challenge areas. Just a little bit of background about myself. For those who don't know me, I was the founding scientific director of AgeWell along with Alex Mihalidis. I'm currently leading on the healthy lifestyles and wellness challenge area. So what I'd really like to do for the next few minutes is just give an overview of what this challenge area is about, and maybe we can have some interesting discussions around where this challenge area should be going in the future later on. So the key ideas behind the healthy lifestyles and wellness challenge areas are really what can we do as individuals to live and age as healthily as possible, and how can technology help us? So this is about making conscious decisions around nutrition, exercise, activity in everyday life, the self-management of any health conditions and challenges that might emerge when we get older. More generally, I believe being active and socially engaged are important for developing and maintaining optimal health across the lifespan. And I would really like to highlight this issue of the lifespan perspective for healthy aging, because in many ways, the the sorts of things we do earlier in life have huge implications for our health, well-being, and wellness in later life. However, we can see that for many people, old age does bring with it frailty, chronic health conditions, and disability, and that our unhealthy lifestyles in contemporary societies contribute to poor health in later life. So, for example, according to StatsCan, only 1 in 3 Canadians complete the recommended 150 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity. Okay. I'm not sure whether we could do a survey right now, but of the 70 people online, who actually meets those recommended 150 minutes? Would be an interesting thing to just do a survey. Okay.
Andrew, I'm going to just stop you there for a sec, just because we're just doing our quick introductions now as to who the panelists are. So I'm going to.
I'm sorry. I was getting into things.
That's okay. Yeah. No problem. No, I'll give you a chance to finish your introductions, and then we're going to let Patricia and her mayor introduce themselves as well, and then we'll get to the juicy parts. So I'll let you finish with your introduction in terms of who you are and where you come from, and then I'll pass it on to Patricia.
I've finished.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so next I'd like to introduce Dr. Patricia Houston, and would you like to also tell us a bit about yourself and just some highlights of who you are and what you're going to be showing us today?
Fantastic. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for the invite. I am an occupational therapist, and I have a PhD in rehabilitation science. And I'm currently working as a research associate at the Jarvis Center for Aging Research at McMaster University in Hamilton Health Sciences. I am the co-creator of a program called Jarvis Dance, which I'll be talking about today. And I also am the Age-Well Emerging Entrepreneur from 2 years ago, who received funding to expand this program across Canada. So I'll be talking about that experience.
Fantastic. We're looking forward to it. Okay, and last but definitely not least, we have Dr. Hermer Sekon. And Hermer, can you introduce yourself? Oh, I'm not hearing you. I don't know if others are not hearing you either.
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, sorry, I have I'm dialing in as well, so I have to unmute myself on that. So as I was saying, just a brief background about myself. I've done my master's and PhD in geriatrics at McGill University, and I'm currently a postdoctoral research fellow. My research focus is really primarily on technology-based interventions for older adults. These are technology-based mind-body interventions to just support and promote healthy living and healthy aging in older adults, irrespective of whether they're aging in the community, in long-term care, or even in more acute care settings as well. But I'm excited to share with you a little bit more about my work. I will kind of leave you with this little piece. I'm very excited about virtual reality. And I know that's something that, you know, a lot of people may not have tried or even heard about, and that's A-okay. I hope by the end of my presentation, I just leave you a little bit intrigued and open to trying it. So that's a little bit about me.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for that. I was just kind of scrolling through the chat as the panelists were introducing themselves, and it's pretty exciting to see that we have people from Spain joining us today, people from BC, people from PEI, Toronto. So really exciting to see the breadth, the geographical breadth of the people who are joining. So welcome to everybody. Continue to feel free to share where you're coming from in the chat and what your interests are and where you're from. That would be wonderful. But now we're going to go on to the official presentations. And I know that this is the part that we're all very excited about. And we're going to start with Andrew. So I know Andrew had already gotten going on some of his presentation, but Andrew, can you talk about specifically the kind of new technologies and services that are coming out to support healthy lifestyles and wellness for older adults, and what are you like particularly excited about?
Yeah, I'll talk to that. Sure. So just to reiterate what I was saying before, we need to be thinking about how we can use technology to help people live as optimally and healthily as possible. It's not just about healthcare services. It's about, more generally, about how we can support active and healthy lifestyles. So if we think about the idea of age tech, this refers to existing, emerging, advanced technologies such as digital media, information communication technologies, mobile technologies, wearables, etc., etc. Does include VR, and people may be aware that Apple yesterday launched their brand new VR headset, which you're all going to go out and buy for $3,500, I guess. However, we need to really understand that age tech is not just about managing the age-related issues and chronic disease. It might be help us to live healthily. It's not just about these health problems of old age. It emphasizes the opportunities for the growing older demographic. For example, how can age tech help people to live healthily as possible and maintain their health, or help people to cope with the sorts of cognitive changes they might experience in later life? I think also we need to think beyond health and think about the economic and social participation and engagement in everyday in an increasingly digitalized world, alongside prospects for new businesses and services. So we need to think in those kind of entrepreneurial terms as well. So if we think of the kinds of key areas for research, there's maybe broadly 4 areas. So firstly, physical health. How can age tech support physical activity? How can it support sleep and nutrition as important aspects of a healthy lifestyle? We can also, and I think you mentioned, Jenny, the work that's being done by Eleni Strulia about depression. We need to think about things like mental health and mental well-being. And this was particularly highlighted during the COVID lockdown. So how can age tech mitigate mental health issues, including things such as social isolation, loneliness? Also, stress. We're seeing increasingly issues around stress and just how important that is for healthy aging, and the sort of research that's emerging in that area, and how can we use technology to manage issues such as stress. I think importantly as well, and I probably talk about this later when we have a wider discussion around cognitive health. What are the ways that age tech can contribute to healthy cognitive aging and support independence of people with dementia? And I think this is crucial because, supporting people with dementia is really, really problematic. So are there things that we can do to delay the onset or even avoid dementia through healthy lifestyle interventions? And then a 4th area is what could be broadly called social health. A wider view of healthy aging needs to look at how technology can contribute to a balanced and meaningful lifestyle as we grow older, including things such as sports, and leisure, etc., etc. So Jenny's already mentioned a few AgeWell projects. So AgeWell has a number of projects within the health and lifestyle and wellness challenge area, including things such as digital games. An AgeWell team has been developing digital games really to support social connection. We have another project called the IBEX Lift. So this is a device developed by a Nova Scotia-based Axiom company. And this gives older people greater independence at home for activities like gardening and playing with grandkids. It's launching in fall this year. I can provide links to all these if people are interested. Another project is MaxMinder, personal aid for older adults with mild cognitive impairment, speaking to what I was talking about before. So One thing I'd really like to highlight, though, is that while I've mentioned that healthy lifestyles and wellness is around about what we might be able to do as individuals to live as healthily as possible, we also need to be very aware of the social factors that may be shaping the way we live our lives. So health and wellness in later life is also about the social, economic, and contextual factors, or the social determinants of health that contribute to health outcomes. These include income, social status, education, literacy, employment, working conditions, physical environments, supports, social supports, access to health services, gender, race, and culture. For many people, living healthily is almost an impossible dream. While we might talk in positive terms about how we can be healthy and the potential for AgeTech to support that, we need to really highlight the very, very serious social challenges around living healthily in the 21st century. Now, before I finish, I'd just like to do a sales pitch that in 2023, AgeWell and Springer will be publishing a new title in the ongoing AgeTech series that AgeWell and Springer has. So AgeWell and Springer are publishing books on all 8 of the challenge areas, plus other areas of research as well. But the forthcoming book is, so I'm the lead author, but it's a team of people working within the healthy lifestyles and wellness challenge area. And this book's going to be coming out later this year, and it will be on AgeTech for healthy lifestyles and wellness. So I just thought I would highlight that. And for all you students, please push your supervisors, your professors to make sure that your libraries have access to these books, because they are key to what AgeWell is trying to do. So I'd like to close there, Jenny. Thank you very much.
That was fantastic, Andrew. And we're already having people in the chat asking where they can find more information about some of the things that you talked about. So at some point, we'll figure out a way to curate a list of resources to be able to circulate to people who are interested. I also want to note that we've also learned in the chat that we have people here from Nigeria, Bangladesh, Montreal, Regina, Belleville. So this is exciting, and thank you. I'm going to now turn it over to Patricia, who is going to offer her insights and give a short presentation.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jennifer. And thank you, Andrew. I'm so pleased to be a part of the amazing AgeWell network as we're all helping Canadians live healthy lives and promoting wellness. So here at the Jarrah Center for Aging Research, we're helping to promote healthy habits through many programs. And one of them is called the Jarrah Stance program, which I have worked on as a co-creator. So the Jarrah Stance program is developed through a program of research to help older adults improve their brain health and mobility. It's a 12-week program that combines different dance styles, lots of laughter, and really just enjoyment of movement. Through the power of dance, participants have a great time while taking care of their health and well-being. It's a fantastic opportunity to move, groove, and embrace a healthy lifestyle. So today I'm going to review how dance can help the brain, the body, and also encourage socialization among peers. But before I start, I wanted to try a dance together with you. So I have a 2-minute cha-cha-cha video. It's a seated dance, so I encourage you, if you're able, to join along and do the cha-cha-cha. So I'll just share my screen here. So right here, and we'll get started.
Starting right foot, ready? Here we go. And out, out, cha-cha-cha, back. Good. Reach, move those arms. Couple more, reach. One more time, front and back. Let's take it out to the side. Here we go. Out, cha-cha-cha, side. How far can you stretch that leg out? Reach it wide. Couple more, out. One more time, reach. Good job. Now let's step that foot to the front and open the chest. Switch, reach, good, reach. 4 more, here we go. Right and left. Wonderful job. We got 1 more. Let's take it out to the side. Same arm and leg. Reach, reach. Strong reach. Open the chest up. You have 4 more right here. Reach, stretch, stretch. Now front, cha-cha-cha. Front, cha-cha-cha. Back, cha-cha-cha. Tap, 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 tap. Front, cha-cha-cha. Back, tap it out. And we're done. Nice job, everybody. Let's take a water break and then join me standing.
Excellent. Thanks. I hope everyone enjoyed that little dance segment for the cha-cha-cha and got the blood pumping through the body. So that's just one of our dances that we have in the program. We had it throughout the 12 weeks. Our participants learn 15 different dances and they get progressively harder. So we have seated dances and we also have standing dances. So for this talk, I wanted to emphasize how dance can help the brain. So dance can help the brain because when we're starting to move our bodies in different ways, we stimulate many different parts of our brain. Through a combination of physical coordination, memory, and synchronization with music, our brain activates the motor areas, the memory, different parts of our cognition and processing speed. Dance has been shown in the research to encourage neuroplasticity, improving the brain's ability to make new connections and adapting to changes. Regular dance practice has shown to enhance cognition in both young and older adults. And of course, dance also helps the body. Dance is an excellent form of physical activity. It involves dynamic movements, promoting strength, flexibility, balance, and coordination. And through dance, older adults can enhance their cardiovascular fitness. So as you're moving, even though you're moving in the chair, you can feel that blood pumping and that cardiovascular benefit. It can help with muscular tone and also endurance. And this can help to lead to an independent and healthy lifestyle. And dance is also social. So throughout our program of research, through our pilot project, we found that 50% of our Jerris Dance participants connected outside of class, starting a self-initiated coffee club. So dance sparking different social connections beyond the experience of the class itself. The social aspect of dance has also been known in the literature to enhance overall well-being, reduce feelings of loneliness and social isolation, and have a positive and fulfilling effect. Participating in dance classes allows for that shared experience and also building meaningful connections. So I hope that you get out and dance and just move and enjoy music. So thank you. I'll pass it back to Jennifer.
Thank you so much, Patricia. That felt really good. You don't realize how still you're sitting and how you haven't moved until you actually do those stretches, and then it feels so great. And then you think, yes, I need to be doing more of this. So thank you so much. I'm just going to make a note to Andrew. He had mentioned in some of his opening remarks that he wanted to do a poll, and I'm told that we will be able to poll our audience or attendees, and so we'll try to get that set up. We're also going to we're going to ask a question right now, another question related to Patricia's talk, which is who does the recommended 150 minutes of moderate to vigorous exercise a week. So, oh, and there it is, the poll. Okay. Do you complete the recommended 150 minutes of moderate activities per week? So let's all take a minute to answer that question. All right. Are these responses going to pop up? Aha. It's like they read my mind. Okay, so we are about split. So about 58% of you say yes, and 42% of you say no. Okay. All right. So with that, we are going to move on to our last panelist. So I'm going to turn it over to Hermer, who is going to give a short presentation. Oh, and we're not hearing you again.
Can you hear me now? I was just asking if you could hear me.
Yes, I can.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, thank you. I am having a bit of technical issues on my end, but if you can't hear me at any point, please feel free to stop me. But I just wanted to, okay, I see head nodding, so you can hear me. Wonderful. So I'll just begin with kind of going back to a little bit about, you know, the background and what I want to share with you today. So my work primarily focuses on using technology, both developing and assessing novel technology-based interventions for older adults to help improve their mental health. And so you might think, you know, technology in older adults, I know that's always a question that I'm asked. There's a couple of things that I really want to emphasize here. Firstly, more older adults are using technology now than ever before, especially with COVID-19. Technology has, you know, really come to the forefront, whether it's smartphones and tablets or even just Wi-Fi. So I think that's something that we have to kind of really rethink in terms of what can we do with technology. Of course, you know, there's components of accessibility that are very important to consider. How can we ensure that if, you know, we're trying to offer a program using technology, how can we make sure it's accessible? But what I really want to focus on today primarily is our work with virtual reality. And so what the team, this is during my postdoc at McGill University with Dr. Soham Rej, and what the team had piloted was a virtual reality-based mindfulness meditation program for older adults. And the goal here really was, the study was taking place during COVID-19. We wanted to create something that could help improve the mental health of older adults. And so what was really unique about this study was that we actually offered the virtual reality intervention or program in two different modalities. So when the older adults consented and said, yes, we'd like to participate in your study, they were able to choose, would they like to do this in person with us, or would they feel more comfortable and make it more accessible for them to participate by doing this in their own home. And we had a split of about 50-50 in terms of the number of older adults who did it in person and the number of older adults who chose to do it in an in-home setting by themselves. And what I really just want to emphasize here is, this is a 4-week program where each intervention took place twice a week for about 15 minutes. And the older adults, most of whom had never used virtual reality before, some hadn't even heard about virtual reality before, were phenomenal in terms of how quickly they learned how to use this very novel piece of technology, which I think really speaks to the fact that older adults are very open to using new and different technologies, and they're very good at learning. Of course, there's a couple of important things I think here that I do want to emphasize. It's, you know, we really do have to focus on digital literacy. We have to also really make sure that if we're providing an intervention that's technology-based, that the technology is really geared for the older adults. You know, so really being very mindful of them when we're designing the technology. I won't go into too much detail about that because I do have a very short period of time, but I'll just kind of say one of the ways that we actually went about this is we created our own virtual reality program just because of the fact that what we felt like what was available and on the market at that time wasn't very older adult friendly. So that was something that we wanted to do. And I know for this group, they're very interested in, you know, getting more involved with technology and including it in their daily lives. And I think technology can be a wonderful medium to, you know, like both of the panelists actually before me said, really connect older adults, help improve their level of activity, whether that's, you know, social interactions or physical activity, and help kind of improve mental health and decrease social isolation, especially as we come out of COVID-19. So I'll stop there, but I'm very happy to share resources on the program that we created and answer any questions if anyone has any.
Hey, fantastic. Thank you so much. I know that that Andrew had also mentioned about the launch of the Apple Vision Pro mixed reality headset that's been making waves over the past 24 hours. And so it's really exciting to see all of the movement that's happening in this space right now, and really quite impressive in different ways. So thank you so much for that. Now, it is time for the interactive part of this panel discussion, which is the part where you ask the questions of the panelists, and we can start the dialogue and have a conversation. You can ask a question, you can just put a comment in the comment box. It's likely the case that as you were listening to each of our panelists speak, there was a few things that resonated with you that you agreed with or didn't agree with, or you wanted to learn more about. So please don't hesitate to put all of those thoughts and ideas into the chat box. So I do see one question here from Olive. So Olive says, for Andrew, thank you for your presentation. I'm happy you mentioned social health for the so-called well older adults living in their place of choice. Social health is so important.
I'm not sure that's a question or an observation, but I would totally agree with it. Yeah, you know, the more I think about this area, the more we need to think less about age tech specifically as healthcare interventions. You know, that seems to me to be the dominant kind of approach within age tech, and think more about, well, what is living well and living optimally as we grow older and as we are older. What does that look like, and how can technology really support that? And the more I look into this, the more I'm think around things. You know, we quite often talk about, you know, games to help X, Y, and Z as we grow older. The basic thing about playing games is having some fun, is it not? You know, we very, very rarely talk about those sorts of things when we talk about age tech. We tend to be quite serious about it. But if you look at successful interventions, they tend to have a social component. They tend to be things that people want to engage in, rather than, you know, engaging for this very important thing, which is about being healthy and active, but it's more broadly about what people want to do. And when we think about age tech as well, you've got to remember that if people are going to buy a $3,500 headset, for example, there's got to be a real value proposition for that. They're not just going to do it because, yeah, we think it's important. They want to really engage with that technology and say, well, that is something that I want. So we need to think in those more entrepreneurial terms when we're thinking about age tech.
Okay, excellent, excellent points. Okay, we have another question from Heather. I think this is directed to her mayor. How was the virtual reality program, how did it consider visual literacy?
Thanks so much for the question, Heather. Do you mean visual literacy, or maybe you could expand on, or maybe are you referring to digital literacy?
So the question is
maybe I'll...
Yeah, digital literacy or visual abilities, perhaps?
Okay, well, I'll answer both. Perfect. So in terms of digital literacy, there was a few different kind of pieces that really, I think, made a really significant difference in terms of not having major technical issues. We had a couple of minor technical issues that were all resolvable within the same session, usually by restarting the device. So some of the steps that we took was that we actually created our own digital literacy pamphlet that we gave to all participants prior to their session. So essentially, I'd be happy to share this if anyone's really interested or thinking of designing a virtual reality-based intervention. But we would have screenshots of every component, starting from the charger, the device, the volume button. This is what the first screen is going to look like. This is how you log in, and really providing that to them to really have at all times accessible. We also had a session, almost like a pre-session where we only use that session for them to try on the device, to adjust the device. You're able to kind of make it tighter or looser around your head, try out the volume. So we also did that session with every single participant. We actually also went through the process of downloading all of our videos onto the device. And the reason that we did this was we wanted the intervention to be very accessible, and for something like high-speed internet, which is required for VR-based interventions due to the fact that the resolution or the clarity of the video won't be very good if it's a lower speed internet. We didn't want that to be a barrier because we wanted this intervention to be as accessible as possible to individuals, irrespective of their Wi-Fi abilities. So that was something else that we really took into consideration. And then we also worked with, older adults and other kind of important, allies of older adults, like community partners, to, first of all, help with recruitment, but also to try out what we had created to see, is there anything that we can fix, that we can help to make this better? So I think that speaks to the digital literacy component of it. If your question was regarding the visual, how did we kind of make that better? A couple of things that we did was, firstly, since we were creating our own virtual reality intervention from scratch, we really thought through what would older adults want to see. And since it's a meditation, what we decided was nature would be a really good starting point. So we actually recorded each of our videos in a different nature setting. And this way, it was very calming. They had the nature sounds as well. And then in terms of other kind of accommodations for visual things as well, older adults with glasses are able to use VR. It's a little bit more, it's a little bit less comfortable, I would say, because you do have your glasses kind of pressing you as you put the device on as well, but you are able to use it. Of course, we had a very strict inclusion-exclusion criteria. So if someone had, let's say, a great deal of visual impairment, they weren't included in the study just because we wanted them to enjoy the experience, and because it's very early with virtual reality, we're very mindful of, who is being included as well. So I hope that answers your question, whichever way the question was, but feel free to ask the follow-up.
That's great. And I know that AgeWell has coordinated a metaverse working group as well. So there are a group of people, including you, behind the scenes working on answering some of the questions and issues that you brought up as well. Just a quick follow-up, if you could just touch on in 30 seconds, if you have any specific results from your pilot study yet. People are curious about whether or not it's looking like it's going in the predicted direction. Oh, we've lost your sound.
Oh, is it better now?
Yes, perfect.
Oh, perfect. So I was just saying that we are in the process of analyzing our data right now, but what I can share, and what was really interesting, is that once we finished recruitment and we had the older adults in they were either randomized to a waitlist control group or to a treatment group, or rather the group that's receiving the intervention. And those that were receiving the intervention, they came to every single session. And so I think especially for a pilot study where we're just, we're trying out VR with this group, we're seeing if it works, I think that speaks volumes. I think also the fact that we had only 3 minor technical difficulties and 0 major technical difficulties, and the difference really being the major difficulties being that you can't complete the session that day, and minor difficulties meaning whatever the issue was resolvable, and the session was completable. I think that is very, very telling, because you have to remember the fact that a lot of these older adults were doing this in an in-home setting, oftentimes without a caregiver as well, with, someone on Zoom helping them through it. And so to say that individuals were able to go from never using virtual reality to successfully using it so well, I think that is the biggest success in my books. We'll definitely have more results on the mental health indicators as well.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, now a comment and a question from Lisa. I've been so pleasantly surprised by how connected my clients have become as we do virtual programming over Zoom. They've become so connected, I had to add chat nights to accommodate the conversation time without interrupting the programming. Any ideas on how to help seniors feel less apprehension in joining online? That's often one of the big barriers. Anybody want to speak to the fact that, and I think Andrew, you touched on this a little bit, that there's a perception that there's an apprehension of older adults to adopt technology, to use technology, perhaps to use some of these web-based mechanisms for exchange. Is there anything that you've seen in your research or otherwise that shows promising strategies to reduce that apprehension?
Yeah, I think it was somebody else who was mentioning that, but I can speak to it. Certainly, you know, there's always been this this misapprehension that older people are resistive to technology, that they're technophobic, they don't have skills, they don't have the desire to engage with technology. I don't believe that is true at all. It might be true for some people, but what we saw in the COVID lockdown was, you know, more and more people engaging with technology, mainly because everybody was having to. Really, it was a disruptive influence. That's putting it mildly, is it not? So yeah, what can technology do for us? For some people are going to be apprehensive if it involves you know, things that they're not comfortable with. If I was to suggest ways to support that, it's really about peer support. You know, what we can do as academics is very limited. Healthcare services have very little role in this, to be honest. It's really about what we can do as communities, families, neighbors, etc., to support people to engage with technology. And this is going to be more and more crucial as more and more about our everyday life revolves around technology. So I'll give you a really important example here, nothing to do with health. If you want to go and watch the Vancouver Whitecaps soccer team here in Vancouver, you have to have a smartphone, right? You cannot buy a ticket without a smartphone, and you cannot get into the stadium without a smartphone. This caused me great problems because the Ticketmaster app wasn't working, and it took me ages and ages to figure that out, and I'm pretty technologically savvy. So we're introducing ways of living which are exclusionary, and a really key aspect of that is doing research, which is going to highlight this, looking at how we can avoid these exclusionary processes and use this information to push the a more inclusionary approach to how we develop technologies more broadly.
Great. Tricia and Hermir, did you want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think that technology has also opened up many opportunities for people to engage in exercise. So we ran a virtual Jairus dance exercise program and tailored it for individuals who had like sedentary behavior, or frailty, or other chronic conditions. And through our research, prior to engaging on the dance, we had them wearing actigraphs, which is a step counter. And so we tracked people's activity before engaging in the online classes and then after. So after engaging in the classes, they had more activity. But something really interesting was that the amount of steps that the individuals were getting to, say, if we didn't have that online platform and we asked people to go to a community center, just getting to the class was exceeding their daily amount of steps. So I think that when we're providing that online option, it's a good option for people to start to engage in healthy behaviors, gain that confidence, and start to build those healthy habits, and then eventually moving into an in-person class that might have been overwhelming to start with.
Excellent. Mayor, anything to add?
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So I think that the only thing I would add is just the learning from my own experience, which I think is really digital literacy and involving older adults in every step. So, you know, if you're designing something that has a component of technology, really get them involved, you know, even when you're thinking about it, when you are creating that technology, if you're creating it, or, you know, you're selecting it, and then also during the implementation, because I think that really made all the difference in my experience, using a technology as complicated as virtual reality and having such great success with it. So I think that would be my biggest kind of point is the digital literacy and involving older adults at every step.
Okay, fantastic. And, you know, I know we talk a lot about the fact that, you know, we tend to speak about older adults as a one homogeneous group, which we obviously all know not to be the case. And so some people, you know, have grown up with tech during their time in the workforce and other times, and now are 65 older, have had some more exposure to these types of technologies than perhaps some older adults who sort of left the workforce or were not involved in hobbies or have access to some of these technologies. And of course, factors related to geography, as you mentioned, Hermia, earlier, access to the internet, all of these things are going to be very relevant when asking the question of how to increase accessibility and reduce apprehension and consider individual history with respect to the needs and desires, and that's all going to be, you know, quite unique, I think, given different circumstances, applications, and people. Okay, now we are rounding, we've got about 8 minutes left. There's a really interesting question from Catherine. It may be tricky to answer, but I'm very curious to hear what each of you think. She asks, what is the single most useful age tech device that you have found as noted by older adults? So in your, whether it be the work that you're doing or because you have had such exposure to the age tech space, is there something that stands out to you as being particularly useful or important?
You want me to start off on that one?
Go for it.
Yeah, well, there's lots of individual technologies, and if we look around AgeWell, we mentioned quite a few already today, and we're going to share links to things. You know, looking around individually, there's some really very impactful work that's been done in, say, for example, mobility. We have a startup within AgeWell which is focusing on power wheelchairs and how we can put add-ons to help people navigate using power wheelchairs. We have a really very good project, which is it's not, I wouldn't say it was high tech, but it's about stabilizing things like tremor that many people experience with in old age. So it's more about the kind of how we can help people to engage in life. If there was one technology I would have to highlight that's been super important, and that's simply being able to video chat with people, and over, especially during the lockdown. I could also talk about a lot of technologies that haven't been useful, but I'm not going to go there right now.
Okay, if we have time, maybe we'll come back to it. Patricia.
Yeah, I think that there's, as Andrew said, there's many wonderful technologies, and it depends on the individual person. So what is the problem that the person's facing, and how can technology help them to participate fully in the community? So whether that be video chatting, whether that be a fall detection device or a mobility device. So it's really tailoring it to the individual.
That's a really great point. And, you know, I think are starting to think more and more about how do we ensure good quality of life as we age, rather than focus necessarily on health per se, but focusing on what is important for each individual. What do they want to do? When do they want to do it? With whom and how? And if you can focus on those things, then you're going to be successful. It's not just always about trying to micromanage some of the health issues, but to look at things holistically. So those were great points that you made. Hermir?
Okay, wonderful. Sorry, I ask every time just because of the technical issues. I think if I had to choose, kind of to echo the panelists, there's a lot of great technology, and I think the most exciting piece actually is that there's a lot of great and novel technologies coming, and AgeWell is one of really at the forefront of it, with promoting it and supporting individuals that are creating and developing and assessing. So. But to answer the question, I think maybe the cell phone as we know it, because of the fact that there's so many different applications of it, something from like a FaceTime or like a WhatsApp video call to even using Zoom on your phone or Skype on your phone. I think the cell phone is perhaps one of, it's the fact that it's very easily usable, it's very widespread in terms of accessibility and people already having access to it. So I would say the cell phone.
Exactly. I was thinking the same thing actually. And I think this is an interesting sort of, in terms of figuring out what is age tech and what is everybody tech, I think it's sometimes a fine line, right? Because what works well for older adults in terms of accessibility and usability and desire and meeting all the needs is often just a, everybody tech, not just age tech. So although there may be some unique considerations or customizations, I think if it can be done well, with this kind of universal design lens, it often ends up being highly successful.
Jenny,
Yep.
can I just speak to that? Just one thing is that when we think about age tech, we kind of do start to compartmentalize things, around health problems, about how we're going to solve problem X, Y, and Z. I think a broader definition of age tech is important starting point for everybody, which is how aging, how longevity is intersecting with living in an increasingly technological world. That has to be the overall framework for how we understand age tech. So this is, about that connection between everybody tech and age tech, really. And that needs to be the kind of overall framework.
Great. Okay, so I'm getting the messages from the organizer that we only have 2 minutes remaining. So we do have some questions in the chat that we just didn't get a chance to get to. So I'm going to encourage the panelists after to have a look at really a lot of these super insightful comments in response to your answers, in addition to some other excellent questions. But we're going to leave off with just one final question. And if you could, just spend, kind of maybe 30 seconds or so reflecting on your final thoughts on what a difference age tech makes, generally speaking. So what differences, what impacts are being felt through age tech? We'll start with Andrew, then Patricia, then Hermir.
One last thought from me is that, generally speaking, if we can use technology to support the sorts of things we did the poll on, healthy activity, that's going to have a major impact on individuals and society as a whole. And down the line, the things about improving cognitive and mental health through general activity, social engagement, are really crucial to a healthy lifestyle.
Thank you. I agree as well. And I think that age tech is a fantastic addition because it helps to improve the accessibility for people to engage in healthy behaviors, whether that be from the Northwest Territories or all the way across Canada. So I think that it provides opportunities for more people.
Fantastic.
I think just I really echo what Patricia and Andrew have said, but just to kind of sum that up, I think technology has a great potential to really help support older adults in, as they age in the community and in various other settings. I think similar to what we said, technology can play a part within healthcare, but it definitely has a large part to play outside of healthcare as well, in just the general well-being of older adults. But what's really important is we have to do it well, and in order to do that, we have to really integrate older adults and important stakeholders in the process.
Okay, fantastic. That was a perfect note to end on. It is 3 o'clock, so that wraps up our webinar today. Just a reminder, it was recorded. You'll be able to find it on YouTube, share with others. And we were super thrilled to see so many of you today, and we are very excited to see you again in future. So have a wonderful day wherever you are, and take care. Thank you to our panelists again. It was wonderful.